AITA for not telling my kids the real reason why me and their father divorced years ago. I am not the original poster. That is you, Butterscotch West 7243. She posted in our AITAH. Trigger warning. Infidelity. Less than. Mood spoiler. Sad but growth happens. Less than. Original post. July 11th, 2023. IF35 have 2 teenage daughters. 18 and 16. With my ex-husband. 37. We were together until my daughters were 8 and 10 when I found out my husband had been cheating on me for almost 3 years. Before finding out, I had already checked out the relationship because while he was out with other women I had to do 100% of the childcare plus work a full-time job, so I never had time to myself. We did try to make it work, but I just didn't love him anymore. So in the end, we divorced. We split everything down the middle. We both had 50-50 custody since he started shaping up into a decent father. We both decided that we would never tell our children the real reason because I wanted my daughters to have a good and healthy relationship with their dad. My ex-husband did end up marrying the girl he cheated on me with, but I harbored no hard feelings. I just wanted her to treat my girls right. Fast forward now, my ex-husband and his wife have 2 sons, 7 and 5, and I'm married to my husband, 40, and I'm currently 6 months pregnant with another girl. We all get along well, and there are no hard feelings towards anybody. Sometimes, when I take my girls out, I take their brothers, and when me and my husband and I need alone time, they will take the girls. Recently, my daughters started putting together the pieces using their 7-year-old brother's birth date and when my and their father's divorce was finalized. I and their father didn't know they were doing this, but we did think it was weird that they asked us about our divorce until yesterday. Both of my daughters confronted me when I came home from work. I did try to deny it, but in the end, I told them what happened. They asked me why I didn't tell them, and I said because it was none of their business what happened in a previous marriage. Everyone is happy, and that's what matters. This caused a big fight of them claiming it was their business. And now they are upset with me but also have been ignoring their father, which is hurting him and his family. AITAH? Edit. A lot of you guys are saying that my girls aren't dumb and they would have found out. They aren't, but I didn't think they would try to go in depth of what happened in me and their father's marriage. The reason for the divorce was always that we just didn't love each other anymore. But we loved them. Another edit. July 12th, 2023. Next day. I'm not trying to tell my girls how to feel at all. I just don't want them to have the thought in their head, what if my dad didn't cheat? Maybe they would still be together. Which isn't true. I want them to understand that regardless of if their dad was faithful, we would have divorced. We were young, and we thought that you were supposed to marry the person you had kids with. Of course, we loved each other, but as we grew older, we realized we just had different plans for life. My ex and I did decide that we would sit them down later today and have a chat. Relevant comments. Oop opens up about her own past. Yes, I had divorced parents. I haven't seen my father since I was 6. So it was just me and my mother. I was always happy when my mother was in relationships, even if they only lasted a few months. Especially since her partners would always make sure I didn't go without. Yes, I know the divorce affected them, but the cheating shouldn't. When they divorced, they had a therapist. My 16-year-old still goes, but my oldest stopped going. NTA, but the girls have the right to know and process on their own. I know I should stay out of it, but I don't want them to do something they would regret. I don't want them to take out their anger on their little brothers, especially since they look up to them. Oop explains more about why she thought it wasn't necessary for them to know. I understand what you are saying. But what I meant is being upset isn't gonna change anything at all. It's gonna make them upset and bitter towards people who love them so much. Their father and stepmom would walk through fire to make sure they were okay. And I don't want them to burn bridges just because they are thinking about the what ifs. Yes, their dad cheated, but he was in his 20s. And he's a completely different person now that he's reaching his 40s. Yes, it's okay to be upset and confused. But in the end, I don't want them to dread over it. Me and their dad both thought it wasn't necessary or age appropriate for them to know about the cheating. Even still, they now have 2 perfectly healthy relationships to look up to. If they ever need to co-parent with future partners and also have a healthy example to put the kids first. Oop explains more about why she doesn't feel as betrayed over the cheating. He didn't destroy the family unit. It was already destroyed. Him cheating didn't hurt me. I can see it, the kids, and possibly their relationship. Okay, why are people telling me the reason why they think I fell out of love? I didn't care that he didn't put time into me. Maybe I wished he had put more time into the kids so I could have had some time to myself. There isn't a consensus vote on this sub, but the votes were heavily mixed. Update post. July 12, 2023. Day after OG post. Hello. I decided to write an update, even though it's quite long. Today, my ex-husband, me, and the girls were supposed to have a family chat, but he had a family emergency concerning his wife, because she had twisted her ankle at her 7-year-old son's soccer game. I hope she feels better. Anyways, they were understandably upset and took this as another sign that he was putting his new family over them. I didn't say anything and instead let them vent, and I comforted them. From what my ex-husband is saying, we would have to wait another time to have this conversation all together. Regardless, I still wanted to talk to my girls tonight. At first, it was incredibly awkward and the air was filled with tension. I could feel that they didn't trust me and it hurt because it's my fault. I started talking and I first apologized for telling them that it wasn't their business. I reassured them that everything that happened in their home was their business and I was truly sorry for making them feel like they didn't matter because they were the most important things that ever happened to me. At this point, my 16-year-old started to cry a bit, which made me start to cry because I know the news was a lot for her. I ended up telling them the reason why I kept it for so long because I wanted them to have a good relationship with their dad and I didn't want them to worry about adult matters so young, especially when they already had a lot going on. I told them I just wanted to shield them from anything that could hurt them, which I then apologized for because, in the end, it was wrong and they deserved to know. I told them from now on I was gonna be more open to any questions they had about me and their father's marriage. I also explained that I wouldn't tell them how they should move on when it comes to their dad and I would support them if they needed time away from them. I did tell them that any anger that they have towards their dad and stepmom, they should never take it out on their brothers. They said that they still love their brothers but they just didn't want to see their dad or stepmom right now. I asked them how they felt and they are understandably upset and felt like they were easily replaceable, which broke my heart. I told them that their father has a lot to work on but they can always count on me and they could never be replaceable to me. At this point, we were all crying while we were hugging. They ended up asking how I felt and I was truthful. I told them I was confused and I didn't know how to feel. By this point, we were quiet. My 16-year-old was laying her head on my belly while my 18-year-old was resting her head on my shoulder. I am gonna try to get my 18-year-old back into therapy. They do want to cut off their dad and stepmom, as a lot of you guys suspected, but they are afraid they won't see the boys anymore, which may be true. Regardless, I and my husband are 100% there for them. I'm very thankful for all the advice given. I was being completely selfish, which ended up hurting everyone even more. I don't know if I will make another upset because I'm 80% sure the family talk with my ex-husband will not happen. I mark this as ongoing in case we get any more information moving forward. Man, I know that a twisted ankle could be bad enough to be unable to walk or drive, and it's not like their 7-year-old could take care of his mom. But the dad missing this conversation is the worst possible move. Like, galactically bad. Call in a favor from a friend or an in-law. Do anything to not have it go that way bad. Oof. I know the divorce affected them, but the cheating shouldn't. Oop was very naive. It also sounds like the father drops them often if they feel replaceable, and he didn't show up due to a family emergency. That sounds like a huge excuse. Even if he had to drive his wife somewhere he could call and say he'd be late. He sounds like a douche. Oop most likely stopped feeling anything towards him and their marriage to protect herself. It was a consequence and not a cause of what happened. You know, current advice is to shield your kids from the harsh realities of divorce, and in most ways that is probably good. Kids should not be mediators. Kids should not be therapists. Kids should not be used as weapons against one of their parents. That said, the truth usually comes out. So giving kid-friendly versions of events with bigger revelations is warranted. Hopefully with the guidance of a therapist, is going to be the best course for most families. Also, if you cheat and your kids find out, they'll most likely be pretty pissed. Well, this is the realest post I've read in a while. Families can be messy, and it's not always easy for children to handle divorce. Even in the case where all the parents try to handle it responsibly and co-parent amicably. I wish the best for Op and her kids. Kudos to her for maintaining a healthy relationship with her ex and his wife. I wish that parents would stop hiding the truth from the kids and pretending that they'll stay young and ignorant forever. We see this over and over again, especially on AITA, where step-parents, adoptees' parents, or people whose kids were conceived with donor sperm just straight up keep their kids' origins a secret. I mean, how stupid can you be? All that would have to happen for the entire house of cards to come falling apart is for one of them to take one of the dozen or so DNA tests that are available out there. There was one woman last week who was adamant that her 30-something-year-old daughter should never know that she was conceived with donor sperm and that her dad isn't actually her biological dad. She was 10,000% sure that what she and her husband did was right. And even now that her daughter has kids of her own, they're refusing to tell her the truth to shield her from prejudiced extended family members. So many people tried to get it through her thick head that it's gonna be so much worse when her daughter finds out the truth on her own than if she'd heard it from her parents. But even now, she would still be pissed. They lied to her for 30 years. I would be so incredibly hurt if I found out now, as an adult, that my parents lied about something so huge about my own origins and biology all my life. One of my good friends just got divorced about 2 years ago. The kids were 4 and 9 at the time. She was blindsided by his infidelity but ultimately decided to be amicable and kill everyone with kindness. He is a classic narcissist and immediately moved in with his AP, and they're now engaged. They both decided not to tell the kids anything other than, "We fell out of love." I'm so worried for this day to come for those boys. The 4-year-old obviously was too young to understand. But her 9-year-old is very emotionally in tune with her and protective. It won't be too hard for them to piece it together one day. She said that if they ask her one day she will be honest. I encouraged her to be age appropriate with at least the older boy, but she worried for his relationship with his dad. Just as Oop did. She says she will likely end up telling them when they're older. But I know that in reality, they'll never be old enough for that conversation and it'll get put off. It's not like it's gonna be a fun conversation. And I know her ex will twist it around that she's vindictive or something. But damn, do I worry about the effect it's going to have on her relationship with the boys. Wonder if Dad jumped at the excuse to avoid the discussion because he knew the girls would be angry and didn't want to deal with it all, either through guilt at the pain he'd caused them, or because he genuinely didn't care, or because he thought if he ignored it, it would all just go away. Good they don't want to cut their brothers out, though. I do disagree to a point on the bit where Op said she was wrong when she withheld the truth from them. An 8-year-old doesn't need to be told in detail how her daddy cheated and how long it's been going on. An 18 and 16-year-old is old enough to understand relationships aren't that simple. While it was right to keep the information age appropriate, Op should have been open about the fact that she's not telling them until they are old enough to understand and set a rough date for that. Reassure none of this was their fault, because children blame themselves, and that their dad loves them very much, rather than gloss it all over like there was nothing to hide. Oh hey, this is the one I got the top comment on the first post. I'm glad she took the feedback to heart and it seems like they had a good conversation. Oop is ridiculous. The way she dismissed her kid's feeling is outrageous. It's not because she's fine with the cheating that obviously they will be okay too. If she thought it was no big deal, why did she hide? People who think their relationship with their partners don't affect the kids are so, I don't want to say stupid, but I can't think of a better word. Oh, it doesn't matter that my husband, wife is a cheater or a abusive person or a murderer or a pedophile, because she treats my kids well and I want them to have a good relationship. That is effectively saying their role as a father, mother should be separated out from the rest of who they are as a person. So should children then not see their parents as people but as caregivers only? Children are far smarter and far more inquisitive than is healthy. Of course the girls would look it up, and are smart enough to understand that he cheated, especially at 18 years old. A divorce is a split, a schism in their world. It is a finality and it hurts children. Far, far, far more than Oop or most parents would ever understand. My parents' divorce, and the custody disputes, followed by the years of back and forth between them, both defined my childhood. No, he didn't hurt Oop or the girls. But that schism certainly did. I'd bet money that they blamed themselves, because they never knew the concrete reason their world ended, and a new one began. I see that Oop recognizes that she is at fault, but certainly not an asshole. And I hope that the therapy helps them all. I hope Oop recognizes that she too could use some. I 35 have 2 teenage daughters, 18 and 16, with my ex-husband, 37. So she got pregnant with 16 and then again with 18? That's why teenagers need sex ed. Oop has a good mindset about it all. He cheated, but the relationship was already over and in the end, it worked out. He grew to be a better person and parent.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AITA is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.